The world is getting older. It's not just individuals aging, but entire populations. We've all heard about the benefits of living longer. Better healthcare, improved quality of life, and the overall advancements that allow people to thrive well into their golden years. But what if I told you that an aging population could actually be one of the greatest challenges we'll face in the 21st century? Yes, while longer life expectancy is something to celebrate, it comes with significant economic implications. Today, we'll explore the often overlooked yet critical impact of aging populations on economies worldwide. We'll look at the numbers, the ripple effects, and the emerging controversies. Will economies around the world cope with this demographic shift? Or are we standing on the edge of a financial crisis? Let's start by breaking down the numbers. The numbers, how the global population is aging. First things first, let's set the stage. The United Nations reports that by 2050, 1 in 6 people globally will be over the age of 65. This is a drastic change when you consider that just a decade ago, that figure was closer to 1 in 11. Countries that are already facing the brunt of this shift include Japan, where 28% of the population is already 65 or older, and nations like Germany and Italy, which are not far behind. In regions such as Europe, North America, and East Asia, this aging phenomenon is particularly stark. In Japan, for instance, it's estimated that by 2040, almost 35% of the population will be over the age of 65. But it's not just the developed world. Even emerging economies like China and Brazil are experiencing rapidly aging populations due to declining birth rates and increased life expectancy. Take China as a prime example. China's one-child policy has had long-lasting effects on its demographic structure. Today, China is grappling with what's being called a demographic time bomb. The country's working-age population is shrinking, while the number of retirees is swelling. By 2050, China is expected to have over 300 million people aged 65 and older, nearly equivalent to the current population of the United States. The US itself isn't immune. By 2030, every member of the baby boomer generation will be older than 65, which means 1 in 5 US residents will be of retirement age. The ramifications of these shifts are immense. Economies rely on younger, working-age people to drive growth, support social welfare systems, and maintain productivity. So what happens when those young people start becoming fewer and fewer? The healthcare conundrum, a burgeoning crisis. As populations age, one of the most immediate and noticeable economic impacts is the rising cost of healthcare. Aging populations tend to have greater healthcare needs. Chronic illnesses like heart disease, Alzheimer's, and diabetes become more prevalent with age, and the cost of treating these illnesses skyrockets. In the US, healthcare already consumes nearly 18% of GDP, a staggering figure when compared to other developed nations. By 2030, global healthcare spending is expected to increase by over 50%, with much of that increase driven by the need to care for aging populations. Japan too is feeling the squeeze. Currently, Japan allocates nearly 10% of its GDP to healthcare, but as its population continues to age, that figure is expected to rise dramatically. The situation in Europe is similar. Countries like Germany and Italy have excellent healthcare systems, but they are struggling to keep up with the increasing demands of their aging citizens. In Italy, for example, the elderly population now represents over 22% of the country. And with a rapidly declining birth rate, the pressure on the healthcare system is immense. This raises a crucial and often controversial question. How will governments pay for this increased healthcare burden? Will taxes need to rise to cover these costs? Some argue that we should prioritize quality of life over merely extending life expectancy, focusing resources on providing care that promotes dignity rather than prolonging suffering. Others propose investing in cutting-edge medical technology as a solution, hoping that advances like personalized medicine and AI-driven healthcare will reduce costs in the long run. But that's not the only challenge on the horizon. Pension systems are under enormous strain, and this brings us to our next issue. Pension systems, a looming financial shortfall. Pension systems worldwide are facing what could be described as a perfect storm. In most developed countries, pensions are funded through a pay-as-you-go system. This means that the current workforce pays into the system, which in turn supports retirees. But as populations age and birth rates fall, this balance becomes unsustainable. Take Germany, for instance. Germany's pension system is predicted to become unsustainable by 2040 unless drastic reforms are made. In Japan, the government has already had to dip into its pension reserves to keep the system afloat. By 2050, it's estimated that the global pension shortfall will reach a staggering $200 trillion. Yes, that's trillion with a T. What does that mean for future retirees? Will they have to work longer? Many governments have already started raising the retirement age in an attempt to stave off financial collapse. In France, for example, the retirement age has been pushed back to 67. In the US, discussions around raising the Social Security eligibility age to 70 are becoming more common. But this solution isn't without controversy. While raising the retirement age might make financial sense, it ignores the reality that many older workers, particularly those in physically demanding jobs, may not be able to continue working. Furthermore, this approach raises significant intergenerational equity issues. Younger workers could end up shouldering the financial burden of an aging population, while older generations continue to collect benefits. A shrinking workforce, economic growth. At risk. An aging population doesn't just put pressure on healthcare and pensions, it also leads to a shrinking workforce. As more people retire, fewer individuals are left to fill their positions. This creates a direct drag on economic growth, as productivity declines and fewer workers are available to drive innovation, growth, and economic activity. By 2030, China's workforce is expected to shrink by around 200 million people. Considering China has long been the manufacturing hub of the world, this presents a significant challenge not just for China, but for the entire global supply chain. Wages are expected to rise, making Chinese manufacturing less competitive, which could trigger global inflationary pressures. Europe too is feeling the crunch. In countries like Italy, Spain, and Germany, the shrinking workforce is already leading to slower economic growth. Italy's economic output has been stagnating for years, in large part due to its aging workforce and declining birth rates. But it's not just about fewer workers, it's about the nature of work itself. As populations age, there is a shift in the types of jobs that are in demand. Sectors like healthcare, elder care, and pharmaceuticals are booming, while others, like manufacturing and construction, are struggling to find workers. And this brings us to a possible solution: automation. Automation and AI, the future of the workforce. Many argue that the rise of automation and artificial intelligence will fill the gaps left by a shrinking workforce. Robots, AI systems, and automation technologies can step in to perform jobs that require physical labor, repetitive tasks, or even some cognitive work. But can machines truly replace human labor? Take Japan, for instance. Faced with one of the most severe aging crises in the world, Japan has invested heavily in robotics and AI to fill its labor shortages. In Tokyo, robots are already being used in nursing homes to assist with daily tasks like bathing, feeding, and monitoring patients. In the manufacturing sector, robots have long been a staple, but now they are taking on more complex tasks thanks to advances in AI. But automation isn't a perfect solution. There are significant social, ethical, and economic challenges associated with replacing human workers with machines. One of the main concerns is displacement. While automation can fill labor gaps, it also threatens to displace millions of workers. In fact, a 2019 report from the World Economic Forum estimated that 75 million jobs could be displaced by automation by 2025. This begs the question, if automation displaces millions of workers, where will they go? How will they be retrained? And will there be enough jobs to accommodate them? The answers to these questions remain uncertain, but one thing is clear. Automation will play a significant role in shaping the future workforce. Immigration, a solution or a problem? Another potential solution to the challenges of an aging population is increased immigration. By bringing in young, working-age individuals from abroad, countries can offset their shrinking native populations and replenish the workforce. Germany, for instance, has taken this approach. Since 2015, the country has welcomed over 1 million immigrants, many of whom are of working age. This has helped alleviate some of the economic pressures caused by an aging population. But it has also sparked significant social and political tensions. Japan, on the other hand, has been much more resistant to immigration. Despite its severe demographic challenges, Japan has one of the most restrictive immigration policies in the world. Instead, Japan has focused on raising its birth rate and investing in automation, though these strategies alone may not be enough to stave off economic decline. Immigration is a controversial solution, to say the least. While it can help mitigate the economic impacts of aging populations, it also brings challenges in terms of integration, cultural cohesion, and political stability. And with global competition for young, skilled workers intensifying, not every country will be able to rely on immigration as a silver bullet. The silver economy, a hidden opportunity? So far, we've talked mostly about the challenges of an aging population. But there's another side to this story, the economic power of the elderly. As people live longer and remain healthier, they continue to be active consumers well into their later years. This has given rise to what's known as the silver economy, a market catering to the needs and desires of older adults. In the US alone, consumers over the age of 50 contribute over $7 trillion to the economy annually. This demographic has significant purchasing power, particularly in industries like healthcare, travel, and leisure. The demand for elder-friendly products and services is skyrocketing, from senior-friendly tech gadgets to travel packages tailored to retirees. Moreover, many older individuals are choosing to remain in the workforce, either by necessity or because they enjoy staying active. This trend of unretirement is becoming more common, particularly in countries like the US and Japan, where seniors are increasingly returning to work. Businesses that recognize the value of older workers can tap into their vast experience, skills, and loyalty, reimagining society, preparing for the future. Now that we've explored the economic implications of aging populations, it's clear that the issue is both complex and multifaceted. So what can be done to ensure that societies are prepared for the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead? One radical solution that has gained traction is the concept of a universal basic income, UBI. With fewer workers and a greater need for social services, UBI could provide a safety net for both the elderly and younger generations. Advocates argue that it could reduce inequality and provide financial security in an age of economic uncertainty. Critics, however, question its financial viability and worry that it could discourage work. Another solution is investing in education and reskilling programs. As people live longer, they'll need to adapt to new technologies and changing job markets. Countries that prioritize education and lifelong learning will be better equipped to navigate the economic challenges of an aging population. But above all, societies will need to grapple with the ethical and moral questions raised by an aging population. How do we balance the needs of the elderly with the needs of younger generations? How do we ensure that healthcare systems are sustainable and that pensions are fair? These are not easy questions, but they are critical if we want to build a future that works for everyone. The road ahead. The economic impact of aging populations is a complex, far-reaching issue that will shape the future of our world. While the challenges are significant, they are not insurmountable. With innovative solutions, careful planning, and a willingness to rethink traditional systems, societies can navigate this demographic shift and emerge stronger. The key is to act now. Whether it's reforming pension systems, investing in healthcare, or rethinking immigration policies, the decisions we make today will determine the economic trajectory of the future.